Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching, always encouraging your self-reliance. It's amazing what you can accomplish in this country if you'll be a team player, go the extra mile, develop some people skills, and most importantly, develop a great work ethic. Big thank you to 470 people who have subscribed to this channel, Planet Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. I have a young man here who absolutely knows what it's all about. They have a good work ethic. Gentleman named Stephen Barlett, who's been gone to the States the last couple of years as far as his diving is concerned under Coach Charles Rusty McCollum. And so welcome, Stephen. Tell us a little about your story, how you got started here.
How I got started with diving?
Sure.
Around middle school age, my parents bought me a trampoline for the backyard. So I was just messing around on there, having fun, teaching myself flips, doing a little more than I probably should have without proper coaching. And then I was recruited by someone who was on the diving team at the time, my friend Lexi Datesman. And I went to Rusty and he started teaching me how to dive. And that was when it all started. That's how I got into it.
Sure. And what, obviously you had a phenomenal teammate last year, Abby O'Leary. I'd always joke with you that you were my second favorite diver behind Abby, but I've been obviously very, very impressed with you too, Stephen. So what's it like to be on that level of a dive team? Because, last year you guys, Rusty coached you and Abby, to the high finishes that you had. And then also a couple of the Susquehannock kids too. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to practice with people like Abby, Max, and McKenna. Max and McKenna are the Susquehanna divers who also.
And what's Max's last name? Because you guys know him, but I'll just assume the other people watching don't necessarily.
Max's last name is Flieger.
Okay.
And McKenna's last name is Porter, and they both went to States last year too.
Right, and they're both back this year again, right?
Yep. Max is a senior and McKenna is a junior, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously you're a senior as well. So what are some of the life lessons you learned from the competitive sport of diving, Stephen?
Well, it's really taught me a lot about how to work and how to have like a passion, because I have goals in this sport. I have dreams. I have things I want to accomplish, and that pushes me towards it. So it's been really teaching for like self-motivation, and it makes you want to work, want to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you've certainly done well. And what did you finish it? What did you place there last year in the States?
Last year I got third at States.
Third. Okay. Very good. And I think Abby was second. Is that correct?
Yeah, Abby was second. Abby and I are in the AAA league.
Right.
And then the Susquehanna divers are in the AA league, and Max got second last year in AA, and I don't remember how McKenna placed, but
yeah, I think if I recall right, I think she was like 6th or 7th, something like that. So she medaled as well. So that was pretty amazing as far as your guys' overall dive efforts were concerned. So what's it like diving for Coach McCollum? Again, he's a good friend of mine, quite a character, as we all know. What's it like to be under his tutelage?
I'm very grateful to have a coach like him. He's dedicated. He is knowledgeable about the sport, which confuses a lot of people because he's never dived. He's never been a diver. He doesn't have the personal experience, but he's read a lot. He's studied a lot, and he's been a big help. I wouldn't be where I am. None of his kids would be where they are without his support, his dedication, and everything he does for us.
Sure. And what, as far as this upcoming season, I know there's been some challenges as far as the Northeastern pool is concerned because of the construction going on. So what are you guys doing to make up for that situation?
We've been practicing at Dover's new high school pool. Mm-hmm. It's a very nice facility. We've been there 4 days a week after school from 4 to 6. And then once a week, we drive out to Mercersburg Academy in Mercersburg, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half away from here, where I live. And we go practice 3-meter there.
Okay. And what's it like to have to go to, a different pool versus being right there at Northeastern? Obviously, it's a pretty good sacrifice for all of you. But so what's that been like for you?
Driving out to Dover every day, it hasn't been the worst. It's about a 25-minute drive from me, and I pretty much leave right after school, and I still get home at about 6:30. It's of course less convenient than having a pool right in our backyard, but the other kids we've been practicing with have been doing this for years, and I think it's something we just have to overcome. And we're fortunate to have a pool and a team.
Sure, sure. Well, and I would be remiss here if we didn't mention that your diving has caught the attention of some school. If you can sit up just a little bit more, we'll see the front of your sweatshirt there. It's Cornell, which I think a few people have heard of that place. It's pretty amazing. Tell us about that journey, as far as diving, getting into Cornell, which is obviously one of the very elite schools academically and athletically.
I ended up in this position also because of Rusty, because of my coach. He got in contact with Cornell, and he knows the coach there, and he gave them my information, and they contacted me, and then we communicated from there, and it worked out.
Mhm.
So very fortunate for that.
Yeah, and Abby's down in Towson, is that correct? Abby O'Leary?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be anxious to hear, how things go for her down there and everything. So what are you thinking of majoring in up there at Cornell?
I want to major in environment and sustainability in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences.
Okay.
CALS.
All right, very good. And how about what are your goals as far as the upcoming dive season? This coming year.
I just want to make back to states and dive the best I can. I want to do some hard dives this year because there's nothing really riding on how I finish or how I score, because I'm already recruited and committed. I just want to see if I can get these hard dives in and maybe give someone else a run for their money at states.
Sure. Well, and just kind of explain that a little bit, Stephen, because again, with you and Rusty and Abby, this is kind of second nature with the degree of difficulties and everything like that. Can you kind of give an example of how that works, that scoring works?
Yeah. So there are two aspects to how the total score for a dive is collected or calculated. There's the degree of difficulty and how well it's performed. So someone who does, say, a simple front dive, which is just half of a front flip going head first, that's a very low degree of difficulty. That's about 1.1. So that's the multiplier.
Okay.
That the 3 scores everyone knows out of 10. When a dive is done, the judges throw up scores out of 10. The average score is taken there and multiplied by that multiplier to get the total score. So for a harder dive, like a front 2.5, that's 2.4 if it's done in tuck. And that's the multiplier there. So if you do a front 2.5 for 6s or 7s, the average score there, which would be like 18, is multiplied by 2.4, and you get your total score. So an easier dive performed better than a harder dive performed worse can score higher.
I see. Well, that makes sense, and you explained it very, very well. So that obviously the key then is the degree of difficulty and the multiplier effect there. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So now let me ask you this, and I always go through this, Stephen. As far as, let's say, some of the up and comer younger student athletes are concerned, diving or whatever, what advice would you give to them if they kind of wanted to follow, a good pathway like you and Abby have done, as far as diving? What advice would you give to the younger group?
It's actually something I wish I would have done more of. You focus on the fundamentals, because for even like the most elite divers, the most inconsistent parts of their dive can be the takeoffs, the backs, just the jumps in general. Because if you have the experience for flipping and diving, that becomes easy. But getting off the board, because the board is such a variable, it's so inconsistent, it's very difficult to get that right every time, and really want to focus on that, get that right first before moving on. You'll have a much easier time.
Sure. Now let me ask you this, Stephen, just brought up another thought here. Is there variation between the boards, from one site to another?
Yeah, diving boards, when we go to different pools, they can they all feel a little bit different.
Mhm.
It's not something you can really like you can't really describe how it feels differently. You can say it feels tighter, looser, better, worse,
Mhm.
but it's really just different. And every board is pretty much the same if they're set up properly. So it's not a big issue to overcome.
Yeah. And what, as far as that is concerned, how many practice dives do you guys get? Obviously, to kind of get a feel for that particular board.
Oh, so at a typical meet, with maybe about 20 kids, 20, 30 kids, we'll get about an hour warm up on 2 diving boards.
Okay.
So maybe 20, 25 dives at best in warm up before the meet starts. So that's how long we have to get used to the board. And then
Yeah.
of course during the meet we get our dives. And if it's an 11 dive meet, we get warm ups in between the 5th and 6th dive and the 8th and 9th dive.
I see. I see. Very good. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole different kind of culture with this, with the whole idea there and everything. So, well, Steve, this has been fantastic. Any last second thoughts you had before we kind of conclude here?
No, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just, make sure you share and tag across any of your social media. We try to get you as many views as possible. And I'll be doing the same thing. If you could hang for just a minute afterwards, that would be great.
Sounds good.